Sacramento just dropped their 8th straight game after a 40-point shellacking to the Grizzlies without Ja Morant or Jaren Jackson Jr. last night. It dropped them to 3-13 on the season, and they stand just a half game ahead of the Pelicans for the worst record in the Western Conference. Sabonis injured his knee 2 games ago against the Spurs last Sunday, and it's now been revealed that he'll miss at least a month after tearing his meniscus. We already know the front office is looking to blow this roster up, but Sabonis was easily the best trade asset they had. Their first round pick from last summer will be 24 years old by the All-Star break, and as a nice cherry on top, their next 2 games are against the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. And without having to dive into the X's and O's, it was going to be an uphill battle for them to turn things around and fight their way even into the play-in tournament, even with a healthy Sabonis. In his absence, they can maybe finally start to lean into playing for the future rather than grinding for mediocrity in the short term. Doug Christie wasn't exactly dealt the ideal hand coming into the season, but his rotation decisions have just been straight up confusing all year. Starting with the backcourt, this team selected a dynamic combo guard in the 2024 draft who was deemed by most as being extremely NBA ready. Devin Carter missed more than the first half of his rookie season due to offseason surgery, but he looked solid in the 36 games he played, fairly close to the immediate impact type guard that he was billed to be. But now in year 2, he's down to a whopping 8 minutes per game, and he's logged 5 DNP CDs already. How does your second-year lottery pick get benched in 5 out of the first 16 games of the season? And then their best defender, Keon Ellis, is back down to just 18 minutes a night, and has only been inserted into the starting lineup twice all season. Mind you, Sacramento currently ranks 27th in defensive rating, despite not giving up a lot of second chance opportunities or turning the ball over at a high level. They simply just can't contain any dribble penetration right now. And of course, they've never exactly had the personnel to protect the paint, but even just bumping up Ellis to his minute totals from last season would do wonders to help drag this team back closer to average. There is no valid explanation for Dennis Schroeder and Russell Westbrook to be combining for just short of 60 minutes a night in 2025. DeMar is still mostly DeMar, but the wing forward rotation as a whole is just disastrous. Nick Clifford is at least getting a decent bit of run, but not nearly as much as you might think considering that Keegan Murray just made his season debut in their previous belt to ass given to them by Memphis. And in the absence of Sabonis, the front court is an absolute skeleton crew that has no chance of holding up over the next few weeks without him. And so 99% of you will look at this situation and say, oh well, just the Kangs being the Kangs. But this is actually exactly where the Kings should be. This is just the type of season that could actually propel them to some more stable, long-term success down the line. 2026 is shaping up to be one of the most loaded draft classes of all time. And with the Kings owning their own first-round pick this year, they're lined up to finally land a franchise-altering talent after being stuck in purgatory for over a decade. All due respect to De'Aaron Fox, but 2010 was probably the last time Sacramento was given a legit opportunity to land a serious cornerstone on a winning team. Besides, that time that they passed on drafting Luka Doncic, but hey. Whether they're able to find trade value for LaVine and or DeRozan or not, the Kings should be looking at a top 5 pick this summer. The 2 former Bulls legends, as well as Malik Monk, will all be on expiring contracts next year, giving them a ton of flexibility for the next iteration of this team. Now, that does require them not making any horrible free agency decisions down the line, which is far from guaranteed, but they'll at the very least have the runway to put the proper pieces in place around whoever it is that they draft next June. But of course, just landing a highly touted prospect won't be enough to vault them into some sort of competitive team in the West. They'll have to rely on what's a very not so reliable track record of player development, and while I'm not sure if Doug Christie is the right man for the job, there are certainly no signs as of now that they plan to move away from him in the near future. So to any Sacramento Kings fans out there, not all hope is lost. Well, for this season it is. But you probably shouldn't have come into the year with a ton of expectations anyway. But getting off to this rough of a start to the season, while leaning heavily on the veterans to fill out their rotation, should finally be enough momentum to pull this team into a full-blown tank. Something that they've desperately needed, basically since the moment that they lost Game 7 to the Warriors 2.5 years ago. And while I do still think they would have won that game if De'Aaron Fox wasn't dealing with a finger injury, it's clear that that group had pretty much reached their ceiling, and it's been just a complete downhill slide ever since. So rejoice in the tank, Kings fans. Lean into being a bad team this season, and do whatever you can to prepare for 2027 and beyond. With Keegan Murray finally back in the fold, maybe it'll inspire Christie to lean more into a youth movement. Maybe Sabonis will come back healthy, and they'll find a trade partner for him that lands them an intriguing young player. While the short term might be as dark as it gets right now for the Sacramento Kings, it looks like there could definitely be a light at the end of the tunnel if they play their cards right the rest of the season.